Today on Ignite News, controversy over anti-abortion banners hanging above the Lincoln Alexander Parkway. We learn more about the media's role in the Holocaust during Holocaust Education Week.
The press failed to sound the alarm effectively about Nazi Germany in the 1930s, and that failure contributed to the ultimate tragedy of the Holocaust.
And introducing geocaching, a new way to scavenger hunt. All this and more coming up on Ignite News.
Good morning and welcome to your Ignite News for Thursday, November 14th. I'm Rachel Williams.
And I'm Brady Livingston. Here's what's making news.
Another day, another drama in the saga of Rob Ford. Intoxicated at work, drunk driving, and associating with suspected prostitutes are just the latest allegations being thrown Ford's way. This comes from a court document from former Ford staffers released just hours after the mayor admitted to buying illegal drugs while in office. The shocking claims come from interviews that police conducted as part of their investigation into a video that appeared to show Ford smoking crack cocaine. These latest accusations, which have not been proven in court, were released days after Ford himself proclaimed he had nothing left to hide.
After a lengthy construction delay, drivers can finally smile now that the Queen Street Hill Mountain access has reopened. Improvements to the access include new retaining walls, drainage improvements, widening of the sidewalk, and new LED lighting. The access was originally slated to open in late August, but that was delayed due to the discovery of a rare butternut tree near the road. Mohawk students gathered in the McIntyre Performing Arts Center for the Remembrance Day service on Monday. Ignite News reporter Shannon Brownlee has the story.
As the moment of silence commenced, the audience stood together and in unity remembered the soldiers who fought for our freedom. The opening ceremonies for the Remembrance Day service featured music students Karen Visser and Matthew Stodock, who performed How and My Heart Will Go On. Police Foundation student Ethan Brooks reflected upon his time as a Canadian trooper during his keynote speech.
Most young men and women who enlist, they do it on a voluntary basis, and they know the expectations and the risks that come with that. No family volunteers to lose a child.
Robert and Margaret Thomas attended the service. Robert Thomas served for nearly 39 years and then retired as a captain.
It's really great that we try to remember, and it's important that we continue to do this to honor those people that gave their lives or parts of their lives for Canada.
Poppies were worn with pride all over campus. Corporal Garrick Skoretz couldn't help but think of the freedom taken for granted every day.
Remember those who have given their lives and those who have given periods of their lives in service to us so that we can enjoy our life as it is.
Every year, people take a moment to remember and appreciate the soldiers who fought for our freedom. Lest we forget. Reporting for Ignite News, I'm Shannon Brownlee.
6 million Jews were murdered during World War II. Recently, a local synagogue held an event to mark Kristallnacht, or the Night of the Broken Glass. It signified an escalation in the Nazis' persecution of the Jewish people. As Ignite News reporter Stephen Sobot explains, journalists at the time failed in their duty to report what was going on.
It was a dark day in history. The Night of Broken Glass marked the beginning of the atrocity known as the Holocaust. This event was the buildup of anti-Jewish propaganda that began when the Nazi Party was elected in 1933. Some say the media may have been able to bring this injustice to light before it happened. Forbes CBC correspondent David Halton spoke as part of the Holocaust Education Week. He talked about what role the media played and how they could have changed history.
With some honorable exceptions, the press failed to sound the alarm effectively about Nazi Germany in the 1930s, and that failure contributed to the ultimate tragedy of the Holocaust. Not only that the media coverage of Nazi anti-Semitism was inadequate in itself, but that the impact of that coverage was blunted by the fact that anti-Semitism existed in varying degrees in our countries as well.
His father, Matthew Halton, was a reporter in Germany in 1933 as Hitler came into power. Halton quoted his father's words, which described the feeling at the time.
A fateful sense of brooding like the sultry stillness before a storm, hangs over Germany, and I think it is fraught with significance for the nation's future and for Europe's.
Former co-chair of the congregation, Madeleine Levy, says we should remember the events that transpired that day.
As synagogues were being burned, as Jews were being torn from their houses, as business was being, businesses were set afire. If only the world stood up and said, "Not here, not now."
Halton closed the ceremony with some final remarks.
But too often the press looked away from the evil that was happening in Hitler's Germany. And too often it failed in what should be one of its most important functions, to turn the spotlight on injustice, in this case, injustice of vast and terrifying proportions.
From Ignite News, I'm Stephen Sobot.
If you're a smoker, you may find it harder to find a place to light up in the future. Ontario Liberal government plans to amend legislation to ban smoking in more public places. Restaurant and bar patios, as well as playgrounds and sports fields, may soon become smoke-free. Health Minister Deb Matthews says that about 70% of Ontarians want to ban smoking on patios because they don't like being surrounded by secondhand smoke. Tobacco sales at college and university campuses, as well as sales of candy and fruit-flavored tobacco products, could soon be on the way out as well.
With Ontario discussing public smoking as a potential ban, we asked you, Mohawk College, how you felt about it.
I mean, I know that smoking is bad for people, so maybe it's okay, but I mean, people are just going to have to find another spot to smoke.
I would be very angry because that's kind of limiting the community to the freedom of smoking.
I agree with that because I don't smoke, so it does affect me.
I agree because it's not fair to other people who are on the patio.
Yeah, and I'm a non-smoker, so
Secondhand smoke.
So yeah, that would affect my health as well, and I don't want that to happen.
The pro-life banners that have been spread across the link have outraged some Hamiltonians for the last month. Ignite News reporter Alicia Gallant looks into the pro-life movement in Hamilton.
The graphic images of abortion placed on the link over the last month have caused outrage and have caught the attention of city councillors. City Councillor Terry Whitehead is calling for a ban on the images. He believes that it's not a pro-life or pro-choice issue, but rather the graphic nature of the images.
When you're talking about the graphic nature of these pictures that they're putting out there, the question clearly becomes, yes, in a democracy and a freedom of expression, you should have every opportunity you can to vociferously put your arguments forward, and I respect that. But there are limitations.
The Canadian Centre for Bioethical Reform stands by their banners. Stephanie Gray is the founder of this organization and says their actions are justified.
When you hold up a picture of an aborted child, abortion protests itself. And by that I mean abortion sounds like a good idea until you see the end result. I don't have to tell people abortion is wrong. I just need to show them what abortion is, and if they have a functioning conscience, they will naturally come to a conclusion they didn't previously have because they weren't working with the facts.
Other anti-abortion movements say different tactics may be more effective. Barry Momberquette organizes silent protests for his high school students.
We're giving the message by our witness. We're not just giving the images, but we are giving the images and a message with it that we will stand here in solidarity with those unborn babies that are aborted every single day.
Reporting for Ignite News, I'm Alicia Gallant.
A Burlington mother has been charged with the attempted murder of her teenage daughter. Police were alerted by the woman's younger daughter, who called 911 and ran out of their apartment screaming for help. The 13-year-old victim was stabbed and taken to hospital on a stretcher a short time after the incident. The mother will be kept in custody until Friday, when she will appear in Milton Court.
People can spend hours in Hamilton going from place to place, and at times it can feel like wandering around with blinders on. But there's a new app some people are using that is helping them view their city in a new light. Ignite News reporter Dyson Wells brings us a report on how some people are rekindling their sense of adventure using their phones.
Geocaching is a worldwide scavenger hunt that uses a smartphone app. The app works like a typical GPS, but instead guides the user to nearby geocaches.
My friend came at me a couple weeks ago with the idea to try geocaching, and we decided to give it a try. We found a couple geocaches, and from there it just kind of went forward. Today was difficult. I mean, we couldn't find the first one. It seemed to be really difficult to find in the bricks and the woods and stuff. The other two weren't too bad. The second one at church was a little bit easier to find because the whole geocache was white. This last one was a little bit tougher because it was hidden really well and it was small.
Geocaches are containers that range in size and are filled with any number of small objects. When a geocache is found, the finder can remove an object and replace it with a trinket of their choosing.
The first one was pretty hard because there's lots of climbing and rubble. That was lots of fun. It wasn't as hard, so it was a little more rewarding. And that, geocaching is a thing that is possible.
Geocaching is a great way for people to discover more about their city.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Hamilton, so it's giving me a good opportunity to explore.
This is Dyson Wells with Ignite News, signing off. That's all we have for you in news. Now let's take a look at what's coming up in sports, entertainment, and weather.
Coming up this week in sports, we take a look at the NHL with the Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And in NBA news, we take a look at the Toronto Raptors.
An Andy Warhol painting set a new auction record, and the Hamilton Music Awards are back in town. Those stories and more are coming up on entertainment.
Those sunny days aren't going to last too long as rain and flurries are expected to come in over the weekend. I've got your full forecast coming up in weather.
Let's head over to Sasha Disiak for your sports update.
Thanks, Rachel. In NHL action, the Toronto Maple Leafs headed to Minnesota where they fell short to the Wilds in a 2-1 shootout. Mason Raymond scored for the Leafs, and despite the loss, goaltender Jonathan Bernier made 33 saves to keep the Buds in the game until a late tying goal by the Wilds forward Zachary Parise. Parise and Jason Pomneville scored in the shootout for Minnesota, and Josh Harding quietly continues to be the NHL's hottest goalie, improving to 10-2-2 on the season. Harding replaced Nicholas Backstrom in the goal late in the first period after Backstrom took an elbow to the head from the Leafs forward Nazi Kadri. Over to the Western Conference, where the struggling Edmonton Oilers were shut out by Dallas Stars 3-0. The lack of scoring at home for the Oilers has reached a historic low as the team has been shut out for the third consecutive game at the Rexall Place. Rich Perverley, Tyler Sagan, and Antoine Roussel scored for the Stars, and Kadri Lehtinen made 22 saves to collect his first shutout of the season. Lehtinen was the reason for the Oilers' scoring trouble early on, making an outstanding glove save on Jordan Eberle in the first period. In the second period, the Oilers had a two-man advantage for 1 minute and 31 seconds, but were unable to capitalize, going 0 for 5 on the power play. Moving on to the NBA, Rudy Gay came back to Memphis with a vengeance last night as the Raptors beat the Grizzlies 103-87. Gay led the team with 23 points, making his first appearance in Memphis since the Grizzlies traded him to Toronto last January. The Raptors' ball movement was much better than Monday overtime loss to Houston, when Toronto had only 10 assists from taking 118 shots. The Grizzlies Toronto had 114 shots against the Grizzlies. Toronto had 14 assists, led by Lowry 6, and Gay and DeRozan had 4 assists each. The Rap hits 8 of 15 from outside the arc, plus 33 of 39 free throws, giving them the advantage. And that's all for your sports news today. Let's send it over to Chris for the latest scoop in entertainment.
The city of Toronto is trying to clean up their image as Rob Ford continues to make headlines. A recent YouTube video surfaced promoting Toronto as more than Ford. The promo video features shots of the city as well as footage from local events such as Pride in Nuit Blanche. It was created by two art directors who wanted to deliver a message that Toronto is more than just political drama. The video already has over 7,000 views after just being uploaded yesterday. The Andy Warhol auction record was broken yesterday when a painting sold for $105 million at a New York auction. The 1963 painting, titled Silver Car Crash Double Disaster, depicts a twisted body sprawled across a car's mangled interior. It's only been seen once in the public in the past 26 years. The new record is one of many set at auction houses around the world in the past 10 days. According to art advisors, buying expensive art is considered the ultimate trophy hunting. Thor thundered back into theaters over the weekend. Chris Hemsworth returned to the role for the third time after 2011's Thor and last year's The Avengers. Here's my review.
I think you missed a column. Shut up!
If there was much that was disappointing about the first Thor movie, it was that so much of the grand story was squandered on Earth. The fish-out-of-water scenes of the exiled Thor stuck in New Mexico were amusing, but the best parts of the movie involved the gorgeously realized Asgard and the almost Shakespearean drama of the royal family. After trying to take over Asgard in Thor and Earth in the Avengers, Thor's Machiavellian brother Loki this time takes a backseat to another villain, Malekith, a dark elf who's out to destroy the universe because, well, that's just what supervillains have to do. The plot involves an ancient liquid called the ether that's basically the essence of darkness and would allow Malekith to destroy the 9 realms, which includes Earth and Asgard. Thor decides he can't defeat Malekith alone, so he frees his imprisoned brother and recruits his help.
I know you seek vengeance as much as I do. You help me escape Asgard and I will grant it to you. Vengeance. And afterward this cell. You must be truly desperate to come to me for help.
Since Natalie Portman was in the original, her character of Jane Foster has been awkwardly shoehorned into the sequel. Through convoluted turns of the plot, she finds herself infected with the ether, which awakens the long-slumbering Malekith and gives the movie an excuse to bring Foster to Asgard, where her character becomes useless. After Thor and Loki team up to stop Malekith, though, the movie finds its footing. Being freed from the shackles of having to play the villain, the character of Loki is even more amusing. He's a wild card. You can never tell what his true intentions are, and he gets to show why Loki is known as the god of mischief. Asgard feels much more real here than it did in the first Thor, and it's amazing to look at, which is largely due to director Alan Taylor's experience with Game of Thrones. The movie walks a wonderful line between fantasy and science fiction that feels really fresh, skillfully visualizing a blend of space aliens and Norse mythology. Thor: The Dark World is almost as good as the first Thor. While some aspects don't work quite as well as in the original, others work even better this time around. Marvel has figured out the perfect uses for both Thor and Loki in the series. Now if they just give Natalie Portman's character some actual responsibility in Thor 3, the Thor movies may just surpass the Iron Man trilogy. Thor: The Dark World gets 4 stars out of 5. Mohawk College is proud to present the Hamilton Music Awards this weekend. Starting today, the college will be host to an abundance of local musical talent and music broadcasters. The event kicks off with the HMA Industry Conference today at the McIntyre Theatre. The remainder of the weekend features more than 60 musical acts in 2 nights. Mohawk College encourages students to come out and support local artists. One of those artists is Marcio Novelli. Ignite News reporter Alicia Gallant recently spoke with Novelli about his music and experiences in Hamilton.
With just his guitar and his booming voice, Marcio Novelli captivates crowds wherever he goes. Novelli has been nominated for 2 Hamilton Music Awards this year, Adult Alternative Recording of the Year and Local Group of the Year by People's Choice. Novelli has won an HMA in the past for his EP in 2009 and is ecstatic about the new nominations 4 years after his last award.
It's honestly an honor to be nominated. So I know everyone says that, but I really mean that. The album's just come out physically, and the documentary is getting some great reaction, and just to be nominated at the Hamilton Music Awards on top of all that is just phenomenal.
Novelli created a documentary called Walking Proof to capture the making of his first studio album titled It's Not an Excuse, It's a Reason. He recently showed his documentary at the Real Indie Film Fest in Toronto, and it has received 5-star reviews from acclaimed reviewers.
I basically made that for people who follow my music already that I just wanted to bring them on the journey with me of the making of the album. And it turns out that people that never even heard of me before found it attractive and found it that they were drawn to it, and had a few people say that they're now fans of me because of that. So it kind of works both ways. At the end of the day, I really just made it because I just completely thrive to create constantly, whether it's through music or film or painting, whatever I do, it's always about creating.
Novelli also released his first music video for Dr. Please on YouTube, which has received over 100,000 views since it was posted last month. The single is off his new album, a solid 3 to 4 year effort from Novelli, who picked the tracks meticulously to tell a story. Novelli will play a show on November 15th at Homegrown Hamilton as part of an HMA showcase before he hits the East Coast for his tour. He will return to Hamilton, his hometown, in January, as he appreciates the support his home gives him.
Being nominated by your hometown means a lot. I think the scene in Hamilton is interesting. There's different kinds of scenes that you'd have to I don't know where I kind of fall into, because there's not really a scene for what I'm doing. But Hamilton's been really great. Some really amazing people in Hamilton have shown me some beautiful love and support.
Reporting for Ignite News, I'm Alicia Gallant.
That's it for entertainment. Now let's take a look at what's going on around campus with your community calendar.
I'm Adam Steinberg. Here's what's happening in and around the Mohawk College community. The Arnie will be hosting an open mic night on November 18th. Come showcase your talent or come up to support a friend and enjoy the show. Doors will be open from 7 to 11 p.m. and is completely free for Mohawk students. On November 15th, the Hamilton Bulldogs take on the Lake Erie Monsters at Copps Coliseum. The puck drops at 7:30 and tickets are now on sale ranging from $24 to $34. On November 19th, the Arnie introduces their fashion show. Come out and learn how to set your wardrobe on a student budget. The event is completely free and runs from noon to 1. And on November 20th, the Arnie will be transformed into a culture fest. Experience a variety of food and performances from around the world. The event runs from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and admission is free for all students and staff. That's all for your community calendar. Now let's throw it back to the desk.
It's not getting any warmer, and it looks like there's some flurries in the forecast. Let's check in with Adam for the weather update.
Rachel, it's sunny in Hamilton today with heavy winds and a high of 7. Toronto is also enjoying a sunny day, winds gusting at 40 kilometers an hour, also at a high of 7. Sunny in Niagara sitting at 8 degrees, and it's cooler in London, mainly sunny at a high of 6. Right now in Windsor it's 4 degrees. Now looking ahead to the next 24 hours in Hamilton, this evening will be mainly clear with a high of 5 degrees. Tonight we'll see some clouds moving in as the temperature drops to 2 degrees. And tomorrow morning is expected to have a mix of sun and clouds sitting at 8 degrees. Finally, let's take a look at the next 5 days in Hamilton. Tomorrow will be mainly cloudy with a high of 8 and a low of 3. Saturday we'll see a mix of sun and clouds at a high of 10 and low of 7. The rain begins Sunday with a high of 12 and a low of 9. Monday the rain continues with a high of 10 and a low of -1. There's a chance of flurries coming in Tuesday at a high of 1 and low of -6. That's all for your weather update, so let's go back to the desk with Rachel and Brady.
Now it's time to check out our regular feature, Pay It Forward.
I actually co-founded a NGO called Love Thy Neighbor International. It's a non-governmental organization. It's a not-for-profit that basically We promote religious freedom and human rights here in Canada and around the world, and we do international development projects to support impoverished religious minority communities in Pakistan. I started out blogging and speaking and raising awareness about religious persecution around the world, and I started wanting to basically mobilize Canadians to deal with issues that were not just an international problem, but bringing them back to why they affect Canadians. And so in doing that, it kind of made me want to do something tangible for the people that are being affected around the world. I speak at a lot of churches. I've been on several television networks and been interviewed by some awesome news anchors. The other thing is that I've become a lot more politically involved. Like once I realized how important politics was to everything that we do here in Canada, it just became evident to me that I needed to get involved. In doing that, it's just given me the ability to network with so many awesome people and just spread more awareness and just make contacts that have been able to broaden my network really and help me to spread the word about what's going on.
And that's all your news for Thursday, November 14th. For more news coverage, check out our website at ignitenews.ca or follow us on Twitter at IgniteOnline. I'm Rachel Williams.
And I'm Brady Livingston. Thanks for watching, Mohawk.